We would take walks together, all of us, and pick up food.
That gentle remark from Adam Sandler sounded like a slow-motion film of youth encapsulating the carefree days between him and Malcolm-Jamal Warner. But then Hollywood, a place never lacking moments that make the public hold their breath, witnessed a silence that lasted unexpectedly long. For many days, the news of Warner's sudden death remained an unhealed wound. Amid numerous hypotheses, the name Adam Sandler stood out, but not because of what he said, but because of what he hadn't said. At 58, the comedian who had shared countless rare everyday moments with Malcolm finally broke the wall of silence. Not a cold press release, not a pre-prepared farewell, but a story never before revealed about Malcolm-Jamal Warner's last words. What he spoke not only stunned the public, but also raised a series of questions. What truly happened in those final hours? Why did Adam only speak now? And do those last words contain a profound message about life, career, or the hidden corners Hollywood tried to keep secret? To understand the full significance behind this moment, one must go back to the point when the tragedy began. The day Malcolm-Jamal Warner at 54 passed away suddenly. His passing not only shocked Hollywood, but also unleashed a series of emotions, speculations, and stories that to this day still leave lingering echoes. This is the starting point for everything. The mystery behind the news that stunned the nation. Playa Cocles Limón, Costa Rica. Amid the jade green and golden hues of summer sun, this famous beach still breathed the steady rhythm of the Caribbean. But beneath the calm surface, the locals were well aware of the existence of an invisible predator, the Rip Current, an underwater flow capable of pulling anyone out to sea within seconds. For tourists, the warning usually rested quietly on a modest sign. On the afternoon of July 20, 2025, a 54-year-old American man entered the cool waters. Just a few hours later, news of his death flooded global reports. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, actor, director, producer, Grammy-winning musician, had passed away. The autopsy report concluded death by drowning. No injuries, no violence, no direct witnesses. The case closed swiftly like countless other drownings in tropical waters. But the name Malcolm-Jamal Warner was not one easily forgotten. Born in 1970 in Jersey City, New Jersey, Malcolm rose to fame at age 14 as Theo Huxtable in The Cosby Show. Across 8 seasons, 1984, 1992, the intelligent gaze and warm smile of this young teen left a lasting impression on millions of American viewers. After the show ended, he did not vanish like many child stars, but continued to pursue the arts, directing, producing music. In 2015, he won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance alongside Robert Glasper Experiment and Lala Hathaway. Across nearly 4 decades in the industry, he maintained a clean image, strong principles, and a private personal life. Therefore, the news of his passing shocked the public. Within 24 hours, the hashtag #RememberMalcolm appeared over 500,000 times. Social media overflowed with behind-the-scenes photos, farewell messages, and tribute videos. Keisha Knight, Pulliam Little Rudy on screen, wrote, "He was not just a co-star, he was a true brother." Tracy Ellis Ross called him a man of light and principles. Every colleague affirmed Malcolm never compromised with wrong. Yet the Warner family remained silent after the autopsy report. No statements, no press conferences, no explanations. 3 weeks passed in curiosity and waiting. On August 8, 2025, Pamela Warner, Malcolm's 72-year-old mother, finally spoke. On Instagram, she posted an old photo of the two of them with the words, "You left peacefully without pain. You have completed your mission." On the same day, she launched the Malcolm-Jamal Warner Living Legacy page, The Living Legacy of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, and wrote, "Your story will be told fully." The 6 words "told fully" immediately sparked waves of speculation. If it was merely a drowning accident, then what had yet to be told? Despite the rumors, Malcolm's colleagues continued to show him absolute respect. Angela Bassett called him a special soul, always creating space for others to shine. Tracy Ellis Ross described him as warm, generous, and fully present. Beyoncé dedicated her entire personal website homepage to writing "Rest in power, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, you will be missed." Even Bill Cosby at 88 sent condolences, comparing this grief to the loss of his own son in 1997. For Adam Sandler, this loss was not just Hollywood news. It was the passing of a friend who had grown alongside him since their early days in the industry. They met on the set of The Cosby Show when Sandler was 18 and Warner 16-17. They quickly became close, taking walks together, playing basketball, and attending weekend parties. Sandler once said, "He was a wonderful person, funny, intelligent, and meant a great deal to America." Because of this special friendship, Sandler's silence in the days following the sad news made the public wait even more. They wanted to hear from him, the one who had known Malcolm as young men, about the memories, the stories, and especially his last words. And to fully understand that moment, we must turn back over 3 decades, to where a friendship first began on set, quietly grew alongside career milestones, and ultimately became a bond nothing could sever, not even death. A friendship that transcended fame. The fateful intersection between Adam Sandler and Malcolm-Jamal Warner on the set of The Cosby Show in the late 1980s is a rare story of friendship in Hollywood, one that surpassed all glitz and differences in fame. At the time, Adam Sandler was just an 18-year-old boy full of dreams, tentatively stepping into the industry. Meanwhile, at 16-17, Malcolm-Jamal Warner was already a child star known to tens of millions of American viewers for his role as Theodore "Theo" Huxtable, one of the key characters that defined the soul of this iconic sitcom. The Cosby Show at that time was not just a TV program, it was a cultural phenomenon. Each episode drew over 30 million viewers, becoming a benchmark for success and influence in American television. Sandler appeared in a modest role, Smitty Theo's friend. Though only a supporting part, his presence on set marked a turning point, introducing him to a vibrant, professional, and lively working environment. The surprising and admirable thing was that the gap in fame and status created no barrier between the two. On the contrary, that very disparity became a catalyst for a friendship to sprout and grow. Sandler once recalled those early days with deep emotion. "Malcolm was so good to me. We took walks, talked, played basketball, attended weekend parties. His mom was wonderful too." Those seemingly simple everyday moments became the firm foundation for a relationship that lasted more than 3 decades. In an industry as competitive and harsh as Hollywood, where professional relationships are often fragile, it was truly rare for a star at the peak of his career like Warner to open up and treat a newcomer like Sandler with genuine kindness. At that time, Sandler was still an unknown name, yet to headline blockbuster comedies that would later define him, such as Billy Madison (1995) or Happy Gilmore (1996), and not yet signed to hundreds of millions of dollars deals with Netflix. Warner, while still portraying Theo, had begun to expand his career into directing, producing, and music. Their career paths later diverged entirely. Sandler became a comedy icon, an A-list star with a net worth estimated at over $440 million as of 2025. Warner, less ostentatious, remained a multi-talented artist respected as an actor, director, and musician. Yet the bond formed in their youthful days endured. They did not need to flaunt their friendship to the public with no constant party photos or ongoing joint projects. Their relationship was built on genuine experiences, from breaks between takes, basketball games after filming, to conversations about dreams and the pressures of youth. That is why Adam Sandler's silence after the news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death spread on the afternoon of July 20th, 2025, sparked so much discussion. As major outlets like People, the Los Angeles Times, and ABC News confirmed the news, social media was flooded with condolences. Numerous stars, including Angela Bassett, Tracy, Ellis Ross, and Beyoncé, quickly posted short but heartfelt messages. Amid the wave of tributes, Adam Sandler's name appeared repeatedly, not because he had spoken, but because he had not. People expected a response from the friend who had stood by Warner since the late 80s. Their relationship, though low-key in the press, was known in the industry as a rare friendship enduring over 3 decades. However, instead of immediately appearing with a tribute, Sandler chose silence. That silence instantly became a topic of speculation. Some fans worried he was too grief-stricken to speak. In truth, for someone who had shared the tentative first steps of his career with Warner, the shock of loss was not something easily articulated. Losing Warner was not just sad news in show business. It was like losing a piece of Sandler's own youth. At the time, he was in the middle of a busy work schedule preparing for the premiere of Happy Gilmore 2. In the following days, the media continuously posted images of Sandler at promotional events, yet without any statements about Warner's passing. He appeared with a gentle, polite smile for the cameras, skillfully avoiding questions on the matter. For fans, this pause was both a mystery and a sign that Sandler needed time. In an industry where rapid reactions are almost the norm, Just hours after a major event, countless press releases and social media posts appear. For an A-list star like Sandler to remain silent for days was rare. But to those who knew him, it was a familiar approach: speak when truly ready and when words have value. Meanwhile, other tributes continued to pour in. Felicia Rashad, who played Theo's mother on screen, recalled working with Warner as a time full of joy and pride. Raven Simone posted a video with the caption, "He was a friend, a brother, and a teacher to me." Each message was a piece of the puzzle, but the piece from Sandler, the friend of the same age who had shared the early days of his career, was still missing. And when he finally spoke, it was not a long-winded speech, but a story told with utmost sincerity, unembellished, undramatized, just what he had lived and kept in his heart. After a long journey of enduring friendship, the moment Adam Sandler chose to speak about Malcolm-Jamal Warner became a landmark. It was no longer just a story of two young men in the 80s, but the image of a 58-year-old man under the event lights reflecting on his friend through the grief and the powerful final words Warner had left behind. The moment Adam Sandler broke the silence. On July 21, 2025, New York gleamed under the lights of a major event as Happy Gilmore 2, the sequel to the hit 1996 comedy, officially premiered. At 58, Adam Sandler stepped onto the red carpet in a simple suit, his face still carrying the familiar friendly smile. But those who looked closely could see that his eyes that day were not entirely joyful. Just 7 days earlier, he had lost a friend of more than 3 decades, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And it was at this very event, surrounded by cameras and hundreds of microphones, that Sandler publicly spoke for the first time about that loss. It wasn't through a prepared press release or a brief social media post. He chose a direct approach, speaking his feelings right there at a place where everyone was expecting a new comedy film. His voice grew lower when Entertainment Tonight's reporter brought up Warner. "I can't believe it." Sandler said, his gaze drifting off as if searching for memories. "We had a wonderful time together. Malcolm was a wonderful man, funny, smart, and deeply meaningful to America." These words, though seemingly brief, carried many layers of meaning. Wonderful man was not just polite praise, but recognition of someone who consistently left a positive impression on everyone around him. Funny and smart were traits Sandler had seen in Warner since the days when they were both young newcomers in the industry. And deeply meaningful to America underscored how Warner, through his role as Theo Huxtable in The Cosby Show, a series that averaged more than 30 million viewers per episode, had become a part of the nation's collective memory. Sandler did not stop at recalling memories. He also spoke of Warner's final words, a message that had touched millions on social media. "No matter what happens, there's always a reason to smile. And if you can't find one, be the reason someone else does." He said that this message had helped him find a small measure of peace during his days of grief. That's who Malcolm was, Sandler affirmed, always spreading positive energy to everyone around him. For Sandler, these final words were more than just a beautiful saying, they were a spiritual legacy. They called back to carefree conversations between two young men backstage at The Cosby Show, to moments when they burst out laughing over a joke, and to the way Warner, even after becoming a star, still treated everyone kindly. When asked about Warner's family, Sandler expressed deep condolences. "I think of Malcolm's wife and daughter, and I hope they know how much he meant to so many people. Not just to me, but to all of America." This was the point where his voice caught, and audiences could clearly feel that this was not scripted PR talk. It was the voice of a man who had just lost a part of his own past. That premiere, though its main purpose was to launch a comedy film, suddenly carried another tone. Amid the excitement, laughter, and fan enthusiasm, Sandler's words about Warner became a rare moment of stillness. And it was precisely this contrast between Hollywood's glitter and a story of friendship loss and legacy that made his remarks all the more touching. This event also reframed the media's use of the phrase "break silence" that had been splashed across headlines for days. Sandler's silence was not avoidance, nor did it hide any secret. It was time he had taken to prepare to speak about what truly mattered, so that when he did, every word came from the heart. And when he was ready, that moment became part of a larger story, a story about how we choose to remember those who have passed. For Warner's fans, these remarks confirmed that the image he left in the hearts of his friends and colleagues was just as beautiful as in the memories of the audience. For those who had doubted Sandler's initial silence, this was a clear answer. And for Sandler himself, it was a way to turn private grief into a public tribute, a way to reconnect the thread of memory between him and Warner, and to let his friend's message live on. But the story did not end there, because right after Sandler spoke, the reactions from colleagues, fans, and the media created a new wave. The Cosby Show cast speaks out together. As news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's passing spread across headlines and social media, those who once joined him in creating the legendary The Cosby Show couldn't hide their shock. It wasn't just the loss of a television star, it was a blow to a family that had stood together in front of the camera for nearly a decade. To them, Warner wasn't just Theo Huxtable, the clever yet mischievous son in the iconic series, but a warm, devoted colleague who always looked out for those around him. Felicia Rashad, who played Claire Huxtable, shared in a brief interview shortly after the news was confirmed that she felt as if a true family member had just passed. Her voice choked as she recalled long night shoots when Warner would still crack jokes to lighten the mood, or moments when he willingly stepped back from the spotlight to help a scene flow more naturally. Rashad also reflected on the difficult time when the Bill Cosby scandal broke, and how Warner made efforts to stay in touch and support his castmates even while facing public scrutiny himself. Kezia Knight, Pulliam Rudy Huxtable, the youngest sister on screen, posted a behind-the-scenes photo with Warner on Instagram, accompanied by the caption, "You were always the big brother I could turn to on set and in real life. I'll miss the times you taught me how to rise above rumors and hold my head high." The brief message was powerful enough to make millions of fans feel the unbreakable bond they shared over 3 decades. Tempest Bledsoe, who played Vanessa, admitted she had lost touch with Warner in recent years, but always kept an eye on his work. Upon hearing the news, Bledsoe said she remembered the final scene of The Cosby Show, when the entire cast embraced for a long time after the director called, "Cut that feeling." From that day, a mix of joy, sorrow, and deep kinship returned, but this time it was permanent. Even Bill Cosby, who has remained largely out of public view amid scandal and ongoing controversy, issued a condolence statement through his lawyer. The statement said Cosby always considered Malcolm a part of the Huxtable family and was heartbroken thinking about what he still had to give to the arts. The message quickly sparked mixed reactions. Some saw it as genuine, others viewed it as an attempt to regain public sympathy. But for those who had been behind the scenes of the show, they understood that regardless of all the controversies, the bond between Cosby and Warner had once been real. The reactions from Warner's colleagues also highlighted a rarely seen side of him. He was someone who kept the group united, even when they were under intense media pressure after the Cosby scandal. Many cast members shared how he was often the first to send a message checking in when someone's past was dragged up in the news, and the last to leave the set making sure everyone was okay before heading out. Lisa Bonet, though rarely seen at cast reunions, still sent a handwritten letter to Warner's family. A close source revealed that the letter mentioned moments she and Warner had shared while filming emotionally difficult scenes, and how he always created a safe emotional space for his co-stars. These reactions, placed alongside the 7 previous sections of this article, form a closed circle of emotion, from career milestones and personal turning points to Warner's cultural impact. All paths lead back to a portrait of someone not only talented, but deeply compassionate, protective, and inspirational to his colleagues. Though each member of the Cosby Show cast has gone their separate way in this moment of loss, they returned to a common ground: the memory of a colleague taken too soon. A wave of tributes from colleagues and fans. Immediately after Adam Sandler broke his silence at the Happy Gilmore 2 premiere on July 21, 2025, public sentiment seemed to erupt once more. Stories about Malcolm-Jamal Warner didn't just flood social media. They began appearing prominently across major news outlets, television programs, and podcasts. Sandler's heartfelt tribute opened a door, inviting everyone from close colleagues to fans who had never met Warner to come together and share memories, affection, and respect for him. On Twitter, the hashtags #Malcolm-Jamal Warner and #AlwaysAReasonToSmile, drawn from Warner's final words, quickly surged to the top of global trends. Within just 24 hours of Sandler's remarks, over 500,000 posts appeared. Many included clips from The Cosby Show, candid photos of Warner at events, or quotes of his most inspiring words. Countless fans wrote that they had adopted his message, "Be the reason someone else smiles," into their daily lives as a way to remember him. Hollywood artists also expressed collective grief. Angela Bassett, who worked with Warner on several TV projects, posted on Instagram, "Malcolm carried the soul of a true artist, always listening, always making space for others to shine. He'll always be in our hearts." Tracee Ellis Ross recalled filming Read Between the Lines. He was warm, generous, and fully present in every moment. Beyoncé, one of the most powerful figures in music, dedicated the entire homepage of her personal website to honoring Warner. Against a solemn black background, white text read, "Rest in power, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. You will be missed." This simple gesture captured millions of hearts, especially given how rarely Beyoncé expresses personal sentiments on her official platform. Even Bill Cosby, who played Warner's on-screen father in The Cosby Show, sent a message through a representative. Now, 88 years old, Cosby said he considered Warner a son and compared the pain of his passing to the loss of his own son, Ennis, in 1997. Losing Malcolm hurts no less than losing Ennis. He was part of my family. Major networks like ABC, NBC, and CNN quickly aired archival interviews of Warner interwoven with colleague tributes. The Tonight Show even devoted a special segment to revisiting Warner's legacy in American sitcom history, from his role as Theo Huxtable, the bright but occasionally rebellious son full of heart, to his later artistic endeavors and community activism. Beyond the entertainment industry, fans around the world found their own ways to honor Warner. In his hometown of Jersey City, a candlelight vigil was held in front of the community center, drawing hundreds. Many brought sunflowers. Warner once called them the flowers of smiles and recited some of his most well-loved quotes. A group of fans even launched a scholarship fund in his name, aimed at supporting Black students pursuing careers in the arts and media. Within 48 hours, the fund had raised over $150,000. On podcast platforms, the final episode of Not All Hood, recorded by Warner before his passing and released on July 18, 2025, was replayed over 2 million times in a single week. In that episode, he shared this thought: "Black survival in of itself is Black excellence." Many listeners commented that it was a powerful, profound message, and one that deserves a permanent place in his legacy. What stood out about this wave of tributes was how it transcended the confines of grief. The words from Sandler, Bassett, Ross, Beyoncé, and Cosby weren't just recollections. They evoked the lasting spirit that Warner left behind. Rather than succumbing to sorrow, the community chose to carry forward his energy, an energy Sandler described as always radiating and never running dry. And from this moment, the story began to shift towards something deeper: the spiritual legacy of Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Not just roles, awards, or ratings, but the values and messages he left behind. Things that could continue to inspire the next generation, even in his absence. Spiritual legacy and final message. To many, Malcolm-Jamal Warner will always be Theo Huxtable, the witty yet thoughtful son in The Cosby Show, the sitcom that once drew over 30 million viewers per episode and reshaped how American television portrayed Black families. But for those who knew him beyond the screen, Warner's legacy goes far beyond ratings, awards, or iconic roles. It is a spiritual legacy, a collection of values, reflections, and messages he lived by, shared and left behind as a compass for others. In his final days, Warner didn't leave behind a whispered secret, as sensationalist media headlines often suggest. Instead, he intentionally offered public reflections through the platforms he loved: podcasts, social media, and direct interviews. Just 2 days before his death, the latest episode of his podcast, Not All Hood, was released. In it, Warner explored the phrase Black excellence, a term often tied to wealth, fame, or outstanding achievements. After a conversation with friends, his perspective evolved, and he concluded Black survival in of itself is Black excellence. For Warner, the very survival of the Black community, its resilience through injustice and prejudice, was proof of excellence. It was a profound affirmation of self-worth delivered at a time when he remained creatively vibrant. A few days before his passing, Warner posted a short video on social media. In the frame, he smiled, tucked a flower into his hair, a birthday gift from his daughter, and shared a message. No matter what's going on, there's always a reason to smile. And if you can't find one, be the reason for somebody else to smile. The clip was under a minute long, yet it was shared millions of times after his death, becoming a symbol of the optimism Warner always carried with him. In an interview on Hot and Bothered with Melissa Ford on May 21, 2025, just 2 months before his death, Warner spoke about how he wanted to be remembered. "There's part of me that I will be able to leave this earth knowing, and people knowing, that I was a good person." He emphasized that this mattered more to him than any professional accomplishment, and that he had learned this value from his father. For Warner, to live kindly was the greatest legacy one could leave. These messages didn't remain static in recordings or written words. They were echoed by close friends and colleagues like Adam Sandler during moments of remembrance. When Sandler spoke at the Happy Gilmore 2 premiere, he didn't just recall stories from The Cosby Show, he repeated Warner's final words about smiling, calling them a beacon that helped him find light amid grief. Sandler's global platform turned those words into something millions would hear and reflect on. Warner's spiritual legacy was also reflected in the tributes that followed his passing. The Malcolm-Jamal Warner Scholarship Fund, launched just days after his funeral, raised over $150,000 in its first 48 hours. The fund's mission is to support Black students pursuing careers in the arts, media, and theater fields Warner dedicated his life to. Schools in Jersey City held an Always a Reason to Smile week, encouraging students to perform one act of kindness daily. Notably, even after his death, Warner's presence remained vibrant online. The final episode of Not All Hoods surged past 2 million listens in the week after he passed. His Instagram video, Always a Reason to Smile, went viral worldwide, surpassing 20 million views in just 2 weeks. These aren't just impressive numbers, they represent the enduring life of a message shared at the right time with the right heart. From his mother's words that Warner left peacefully, his mission on Earth fulfilled, to the ways colleagues, friends, and fans continue to spread his message, it's clear that Warner's legacy lies not just in what he did, but in how he lived. He proved that a meaningful life doesn't have to be measured by blockbuster films or prestigious awards, but by the positive impact left on those around you. Looking back, Warner's final message didn't just comfort friends in a time of loss, it became a life principle for anyone willing to listen. And that, more than anything, transformed his passing into a source of inspiration, reminding us that even in the darkest times there is always a reason to smile, or at least to be the reason someone else does. The bond between Adam Sandler and Malcolm-Jamal Warner was not just a series of fleeting encounters or short-term collaborations. It was a connection nurtured over time, grounded in shared laughter and deeply reflective moments. Though life took them down different paths, the respect and affection they held for each other remained steadfast, a testament that in the ever-changing world of entertainment, genuine and lasting relationships still exist. If you found this story meaningful, please consider liking, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications so you won't miss other inspiring stories. Every show of support helps us continue bringing you heartfelt, emotional, and authentic content.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast.
There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on the screen.